they think it won't happen, and they don't believe what is going on. And but basic thing is that human rights is not the only regional thing, right? And okay, if they want to believe that the AI, that's going to be okay because they don't understand what really going on the ground. And the human rights is not a joke. So we are taking it seriously, and if it is serious, we should not use the AI. So I'm just laughing, because there is no other choice for them to say AI, because maybe I'm the big obstacle for them to the people of the entitled group.
Magandang araw! Welcome po sa ating channel. Dito sa Usapang Pinas, tatalakayin natin ang mga issue sa politika. At kung gusto mo ng mga ganitong issue, pakisubscribe naman po ang ating channel. Salamat! Sa video na to, tatalakayin natin itong Hapon na nag-speech sa United Nations para kay Tatay Digong. Imagine, pati ibang lahi talagang napabilib ni Tatay Digong. United Nations Human Rights Advocate pa yung Hapon na yan Sa atin kasi yung human rights, naguguluhan ako Bakit ba kasi yung pinagkakaingatan yung mga addict, yung mga kriminal? Kaya ngayon, madami na naman yung mga nabibiktima. Bakit? Yung mga addict kasi ngayon, malaya na. Ibig kong sabihin, talamak na ulit ngayon. Dati yung mga kilala kong addict, grabe yung itsura. Pero yung dumating yung panahon ni Tatay Digong, aba matindi, nagbuang mga tao ulit. Nakakamiss tuloy yung mga panahong nakikita mo sa balita. Yung mga addict, yung mga kusang sumusurrender para magbago. Ngayon, iba Tila suportado ng administrasyon. Balik tayo sa Hapon na to, no? Siya po ay si Shinichi Fujiki. Nakakatawa nga na pagkamalang ang AI dahil sa itsura niya. Yung mga anti-Duterte kasi, hindi kasi makapaniwala. Ultimo pati Hapon, pinagtatanggol si Tatay Digong, di ba? Eto, panoorin natin.
Japanese citizen, what motivated you to speak out on the case of former President Rodrigo Duterte? What was the tipping point, or what was the reason behind, sir? What motivated you?
Okay. As a human rights activist and a researcher, I also domestically, I'm helping a lot of foreigners living in Japan, right? Because I mean, now in France, okay? Now in France, living in France right now, if I'm staying in France, I have so many difficulties just because this is a foreign country to me, right? So, but there are many friends who are helping me, and I don't feel any threat here, and I'm staying here comfortably, even in Geneva. Same thing. It's because this is a part of the area in France, but France and Switzerland is next to each other, right? So takes about 20 minutes to go to the United Nations from here. Anyway, so I've been helping the people, many Filipino in Japan also, and Vietnamese or Sri Lankans, many other people across the world, and that's one of the reasons. And some women who got married with Japanese man and abused or became the victim of the domestic violence. So the people comes to me to talk and explain and asking to solve the problem. So I've been working for this about more than 10 years to help the foreigners in Japan out. So that's one of the things. And some of the Filipino who used to be the victim of the domestic violence brought my attention, and I start listening to her and their group of people, and then finally I decided to talk, because President Duterte is really admired by the majority of the Filipino people, and this injustice, I cannot take this injustice of the person, and especially over 80 years old. He doesn't have a long time anymore, so we need to do something. That's my motivation that I stopped doing this.
Tignan nyo na, pati mga Hapon, concern na concern kay Tatay Digong. Kaya yung mga may pakana nang nagpadala kay Tatay Digong sa dahig. Hindi man ngayon, pero dadating yung araw, mananagot din kayo.
Thank you, sir. Sir, what specific concerns that led you to raise this issue before the United Nations Human Rights Council. Many people have admired the points that you've raised in your recently concluded speech.
Yeah, because nobody else is defending other than the Filipino people. But this is not a domestic issue. This is a totally international issue, and this is a human rights issue. And as a human rights defender at the United Nations, first of all, if you want to bring some issues to the United Nations, at least you have to try to solve the problem within the country, right? This is the basic rule. And so that means, if you do everything within the country and even cannot solve the problem, then you are allowed to bring the issue to the United Nations.
Yan ang matinding katanungan dyan, di ba? Bakit pinadala pa si Tatay Digong sa dahig? Parang pinakita nyo lang sa buong mundo na yung Pilipinas walang kakayahang litisin yung mga ganyang kaso. Wala eh. Hinijack nila si Tatay Digong eh. Yung mga pasimuno dyan, huwag nating kalilimutan, no? Si John Vic Remulla, saka yung Bangag Administration.
So this is a basic rule of the United Nations. So if you are not doing properly within that Filipino judicial system, then it is violating to use the international body like ICC or Interpol or United Nations. So I found this problem is not discussed within the Philippine and then directly brought it to the Interpol or ICC. So this is totally injustice, so which I cannot accept. That's the reason why I brought it to the United Nations.
Sir, specifically, you've mentioned concerns about Philippine sovereignty in your speech
Yes.
at the UN. How exactly do you believe that the Philippine sovereignty was not upheld or upheld in the case of the former President Duterte?
First of all, here the Filipino domestic court didn't discuss anything, right? Nobody brought it to the court. So, but ICC is talking about Duterte. This is totally nonsense. You have to discuss or you have to, if you want to criminalize him, you have to bring it to the court first for evaluation or, to investigation. However, they didn't do it. And they just surrendered to ICC. So that means ICC is superior than Filipino sovereignty. This is wrong. Okay, so the matter or internal affair of the Philippine have to be decided by Filipino, not the ICC. Okay, so is the ICC is above your Supreme Court in?
Ayan na nga yun eh. Bakit kasi tayo magpapa-under sa ICC na yan, di ba? May sarili tayong batas, tayo ay isang bansa, pero bakit ganyan, di ba?
That's what I'm thinking.
Sir, a lot of people are asking if your speech recently at the United Nations Human Rights Council was an AI-generated video. They don't
Yes, am I AI?
yeah, they don't believe that the speech existed, and they're calling it fake. Now,
Yeah.
What is your response to those allegations?
Well, maybe they think it won't happen, and they don't believe what is going on. But the basic thing is that human rights is not the only regional thing, right? And okay, if they want to believe that the AI, that's going to be okay because they don't understand what really going on the ground, and the human rights is not a joke. So we are taking it seriously, and if it is serious, we should not use the AI. So I'm just laughing, because there is no other choice for them to say AI, because maybe I'm the big obstacle for them, to the people of the anti-totality group. So
Sir,
it's very amusing. Very amusing, yeah.
Sir, how would you describe the support for the former president, especially Filipinos there in Japan, not only in Japan, in major countries in Asia, in US, in Europe, in all of those countries where there are Filipinos? The former president was really beloved by the Filipino community in anywhere of the globe?
Yeah. I have a very good impression when the President Duterte met our emperor in Japan, and he behaved very good, and Japanese people really appreciate it. Okay, and what he does, I found majority. Even I searched on the internet about the approval the rate of the Duterte is very overwhelmingly high compared to the current administration. So this is a public voice, or so I think I need to support. I thought I need to support the people in Philippines. That's what it is. And also, many Filipinos living in Japan now saying that I fear to go back to Philippines, although I feel very bad, but it becomes very dangerous, and people are killed in the street, and we cannot work in the night, work around the street on the night, while the President Duterte was in office. The people were very safe, and they could move freely. So this is a public voice. So I thought that we need to protect the Duterte and also entire Philippine people. That's the reason I did it.
Grabe yung malasakit ng Hapon kay Tatay Digong, no? Imagine niyo yung mga banyaga, mga ibang lahi. Grabe yung respeto kay Tatay Digong at napaka-importante ni Tatay Digong para sa kanila.
So you've said in your speech at the UN Human Rights Council that the fate of the former President Duterte was all because of politics. How do you say so, sir?
Yes. Yes, that's all politics, because the current administration was the one who handed the President Duterte to the ICC. Means current administration authorized to arrest him and deport him or extradite him to ICC.
Sino yan? Sino yan? Siyempre, yung Bangag administration.
That's what it is.
Sir, if your appeal to the ICC through the UN Human Rights Council will not be acted upon, what will be your next steps?
Actually, I was thinking to hold a kind of conference within the Japanese society, first of all, to have kind of to support, or this is injustice. So not support the Duterte or not supporting the Duterte. It's nothing to do with the support, but this is injustice. So we have to counter with the injustice. So I was thinking to have a conference in Tokyo, or Congress building, gathering with the Filipino people, Filipino society, or group of people in Tokyo.
What is your message to the Filipino people that
Message
are
to
watching?
Filipino people.
That is watching closely the issues hounding the former president in the International Criminal Court.
Okay, so the people in the Philippines and Filipino society and abroad, please stay strong and unite each other, because your voice is most important things, and maybe we can change the narrative which was manipulated by certain power. So we need to stay strong, and I commit to do whatever I can do for you, your people. The reason is because, Prime Minister Abe, who was assassinated, unfortunately, but he's the only one who was invited to Mr. Duterte, President Duterte's home as a friend, right? So this is one of the reasons that I admire President Duterte. And now he's in a very bad shape, in a very bad health condition. So, we really need to get him out of the jail. And he doesn't deserve to be in the jail. He deserves to be back to Philippines to get the medication, or preferably I want to take to Japan to get the medication in Japan, so that he will be safe. That's my take, and that's a message to the Filipino people.
Na kapag nadala si Tatay Digong sa Japan, makakabawi yung katawan ni Tatay Digong. Ano po masasabi nyo o may opinion kayo sa issue na to? Paki-comment naman po sa comment section. At dito na nagtatapos. Kung nagustuhan mong video na to, huwag kalimutang i-like, i-share at mag-subscribe. Thank you for watching. Abangan ang mga susunod na videos natin. Thank you and goodbye.